Welcome back, race fans, to episode number 4 of the Armchairs Racers podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Joe, alongside my co-host here,
Alex Reckless.
And we are going to talk everything NASCAR Cup Series this weekend because I fell asleep through the Xfinity race.
Nice. I didn't watch it at all.
Yeah. I had a pretty busy day on Sunday. You know, just kind of getting everything kind of set up and clean up after the weekend. And, you know, how was your week? No, it's been a short week because we recorded on Friday. Finally recording on a Tuesday.
Back to a Tuesday.
Shh. Shut up, Bob. Is that Bob or Jeff Gluck?
I don't know what it was.
I hope we don't get copyrighted for that.
My week was boring.
Yeah?
Very
boring weekend?
subpar.
Yeah?
Well, my weekend was fine. Spent it with my partner, Mel.
It's always a good time, right?
Yes.
I spent mine with Joel. What did we do? I don't think we really did anything.
Mm-hmm.
We went shopping Sunday. You know, like grocery shopping for, you know, food for the week, but I don't remember what we did what else we did after that.
Watched the race.
Saturday. Yeah, I watched the race. But anyway, just announced right before we started recording this podcast, there's a new package for the wet weather tracks. Have you heard this?
Well, I thought it was the short track and road course stuff.
When I looked it up, it said wet weather tracks, which would be the road courses and the short tracks. I would imagine, I would hope that they do this at, you know, like March. Well,
I mean, yes, okay, so then...
Because then that would just exclude Bristol, Dover, Worldwide Technology, which is St. Louis. What else would they not do it at? New Hampshire? Want to look it up real quick?
When I looked, that's what I brought. I opened up this article, and it's from NBC. NBC.
Okay, so it's for tracks for 1 mile or less. All right.
Yeah,
I guess
road
when it
courses
came out,
and short tracks.
Yeah, I guess when it came out, it was a little, you know, whatever.
But this says it's road course and all short tracks.
All right, cool. So the difference is that they're now going to a 2-inch spoiler. They're going to modify the diffuser. It's going to be so it's going from a 4-inch spoiler from last season to a 2-inch spoiler, so it's half.
Yes.
And they're modifying the diffuser and the body panels underneath the car to get rid of the downforce that they added in with this new car. And apparently it's going to be 30% less downforce than last year. And I was reading in an article that this downforce number is equivalent to what we had in the late 90s and early 2000s, which I think that's a good thing. But then again, also at the same time, we had a ton more horsepower back then, too.
Well, I mean, some of the speeds are almost comparable, you know. It's with the way that everything's built now, so having less downforce is going to be comparable, I would say, to probably some of the racing we had then. I think this is definitely a good step for these short tracks and road course, because obviously
Loud.
While the new car helped some other tracks, the short tracks took a hit in racing, so... Excuse me.
You good?
Nope.
A little gassy?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also heard earlier today on Denny Hamlin's actions detrimental, which the next episode I watch, I want to count how many times he says detriment or detrimental in his podcast, because he used that word a lot.
Is it in reference to the title or just...
No, it's like, that's very detrimental.
Oh,
or,
God.
like he just uses that word a lot in his podcast.
He must be doing it because of the name.
I want to count it. Because, I mean, he is a shitposter at heart. So, I could see him doing it just for that.
Yeah.
But on his podcast this morning, I heard that NASCAR is also trying to test a tread tire. You know, have a smaller contact patch on the ground, which would then, you know...
Less grip. Yeah. That would be good if they incorporate that in the right way.
If they can make a tire that can actually wear correctly, I think that would be good because, I mean, the closest thing that NASCAR, well, the two closest things that NASCAR runs to a treaded tire would be the dirt tire and the rain tire.
But
when they run the rain tire on dry, it just
it's because it's very soft.
Yeah.
If they make a hard compound and it's more of a sport compound instead of just actually trying to move the rain out of the way, I would assume it would wear properly. So, because there are sport tires that have tread. So,
but these cars are also a lot heavier than other series that race treaded tires.
Well, Goodyear knows that, and I'm sure they will take that into account. And again, they'll probably just make a harder compound. But I think it could be doable. And if that's why they're testing it. Probably it's all, it's just how it goes. But we'll see how that happens.
I think that's a good step in the right direction.
Without making the cars too fast or they become too dangerous.
I feel like the issue that NASCAR has with this next gen car is that, like, if this was a car that they made to race in a series where you're racing against different kind of cars, this car's great.
Yeah.
They really utilized every part of this car to get the most of it out of the can. They made the brakes bigger, so you have a shorter stopping distance. They made the tires wider. You have more grip. You have a lot more downforce. It has the clean air. And I feel like all these attributes they put in this car are great for racing like that. But when you have a series like NASCAR where it's essentially stock, everyone's now racing the same things.
Yeah.
There's not that much fall off from car to car, and it makes it hard to race like that.
Yeah, so hopefully adding, taking away the downforce on these smaller trucks and
make the cars harder to drive, put it back in the driver's hands and their feet. Yeah,
that sounds like that's what they're trying to do without doing too much changes.
Yeah, and for all you Darfs out there, all these changes are approved by the teams, and anything that has to be a monetary difference, NASCAR's paying for.
Right.
Even when they change the rear clip of the car for to have those crumple zones.
Yeah.
NASCAR paid for that. And I think I went on a rant in one of the Funts episodes about this. How changes need to be made, but these changes shouldn't be on the team's dollar.
Yeah.
These teams, yes, they build the car, but they didn't design the car. You know what I mean?
Right.
If NASCAR says that there's an issue, NASCAR should be the one that has to put the money out and make these changes.
And it sounds like that's what they're doing. So I mean, that's good on them.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of these changes are just modifications and not new pieces.
Right. Yeah, that's what so far that's what it's all seemed like. It's not like a whole new thing or a whole new car. It's just slight modifications to be like, okay, we did this and maybe it was too good or just not that good enough. And so we're just going to just that next little nudge to make it right.
And this short track package has to improve because, I mean, if you're going to have, supposedly this new track in California, this new short track, which, if it ever happens, you have the championship race at a short track. That racing was terrible.
It wasn't the best.
I mean, Joey Logano just dominated I mean, okay, maybe if I was a Joey Logano fan, I wouldn't have hated it as much, but still, like, no one had a shot.
No.
And he was up there the entire time, just leading, and no one could get to him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what these short track races that turn into is kind of just,
the short track,
not a lot of passing.
The short track races looked like what the mile and a half races used to look like
with the Gen 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's flipped. Now where like these intermediate tracks and bigger have a lot, which I didn't think that was like going into the season last year. I didn't think there'd be that much of a change in the mile and a half tracks.
Right.
But I thought like the short tracks and the road courses were going to be better because
they
have like all these options that they have an extra gear. They can downshift.
More shifting.
Bigger tires.
Yeah.
They have bigger brakes.
Better turning.
But I feel like it made everyone too equal, and you couldn't get that advantage. And also with the shifting, if you missed a corner, you could just downshift and recover like that with no problem.
Right.
It was too much stuff, I think.
Maybe.
And I think that's I think another direction that NASCAR could go into is maybe just leave it 4 gears. at short tracks. Don't go into the fifth gear.
Yeah.
I think that might be a.
You just play with the gear ratios,
Yeah.
so that it would be like that. Do you want to talk about what you told me earlier about what the California? So
Yeah.
because we talked about it before the race, how when NASCAR made the sale, it was they were left with 89 acres.
It's like 89, 90, somewhere. It's right around that 90 acre ballpark.
So, which doesn't leave a lot of space for a lot of
Yeah, because I
parking,
think
camping.
they were showing comparable short tracks. Like Martinsville has 340 acres, and I think it's Bristol has like 670 acres.
Yeah, but we said this. Those Bristol has two facilities, and they all have their camping.
And it's built like a stadium.
Yeah. Now, what you told me is that when NASCAR was even when they were first making this proposal, it was supposed to be that the sale of the land was supposed to be for like car lots or just warehouse or something like that. Nothing crazy, no residential. And now what you told me is you heard or read somewhere that it will be parking lots and NASCAR will lease them for the weekend.
Yeah.
So there will be that parking in the same land that they did have, so that this 89 acres that they did retain could be all just for facility and nothing else.
There still might be, a couple parking lots in that, 90 or so acres.
Right.
But the majority of the parking lots are going to be that property that they sold.
Right. So they just don't. They really just don't have to maintain it for the year.
Yeah.
So, it still sounds it could be possible. And I'd like to see it. We don't want to see a track loss in a place.
I mean, I just wish we weren't getting rid of Fontana.
Yeah.
But to bring up, the tracks it's like Atlanta. It's at that point where it's the track
is falling apart.
The track's falling apart, which is making it good racing because it wears the tires. Tire wear is a big issue when you go there. You look at the backstretch, the cars are hopping up and down going down there. So I mean, eventually, what would have happened that if this was never an issue, they would repave the track, the racing would suck, and everyone's like, why do we go here? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And
we already even had this issue even with the worn track before the new car, which was when this proposal was made.
Yes.
The old car, before all this aero stuff that made the intermediate tracks good, it sucked. Absolutely sucked. Yeah. So they were like, all right, well, short tracks are good, let's make a short track. And then that got pushed back, and now we have this new car, and like we said before, it flipped.
Yeah, it flipped. Now you have great racing on mile tracks and bigger. Well, mile and a half and bigger. We'll go that way. Except for super speedways, because that's still, it could be better. Mm-hmm. I mean, like we talked about in last week's episode, you don't have the single file train just running the top line, but you just have two of them now.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought here.
Yeah,
we were just talking about
the fun,
Oh yeah.
losing.
So with Fontana, so I mean, I feel like it's a lose no matter what NASCAR does. You know what I mean? I mean, okay, maybe they got 3-4 more years out of that surface, but once they went to that new surface, they're probably gonna reconfigure it because they can't leave anything alone.
True.
They not reconfigure the whole track, but they probably would have reconfigured the banking or whatever. And
their progressive banking or just add more. Or
exactly. So I mean,
without a doubt.
But the thing that really gets to me is the fact that I don't want to say NASCAR's crying, but NASCAR is making a huge effort to be we need to be in this LA market. That's why we have the Clash. Mm-hmm. And what do? They get rid of a racetrack that's 45 miles away from essentially in that market.
Yeah.
They get rid of the stationary track that's there, the one that they don't have to build every year. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make sense to me. But but then again, it is a $500 million. I mean, I'm not sure if developers came to NASCAR and was like, hey, or if the idea was to scrap this earlier.
We don't work for them, so we don't know.
We don't know. I mean, we pretty much know what but we just we try to explain it in better terms. But as far as the short track, like the track itself goes, because we did touch on this last week, is I just don't know how they're going to keep this the pit lane suites where they are. Because like you can't have it go behind them, because then you're not going to be able to see the track behind it. And then like in trying to make that turn, right? Like, how are you going to do, like?
So what it looks like is there was area for the crews in this net in front of the suites. The way this diagram looks,
it goes onto pit road.
It looks like it's behind it, and it's right up against the suites.
Yeah.
So it is a little more. It's not on pit road. It's a little wider, but even then, you got to think how big this really is.
True.
But there, it's just there's nothing on the inside. Like the garages and everything is on the outside, but it looks like it goes right up to the suites and not the space where all the crews were and everything, because they could utilize that because the track's not.
I'll probably put this image up on the podcast, up on the video, so the viewers at home can see it. I mean, because if they don't flatten the front stretch, you're gonna have to have really banked corners, because you can't have corners that are less banked than the front stretch.
That's what it is. It's supposed to be a high bank track.
Yeah, and I think what would be a good idea is that to avoid the fiasco that they had with Atlanta, where like the drivers were like, yeah, no, we never agreed to this, like they never talked to us, they just made it, and like it is what it is. I think what they need to do is that now that there's no pressure that we have to get this done by next year so they can go racing there next year. I think what they have to do is get the drivers that have a better sim racing experience.
Okay.
Get those guys to test out a bunch of different configurations that they want to make.
They could do that.
Get their input. Let them sell it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you have the drivers on, it seems to be nowadays that the fans will side with the drivers over the sanctioning body. Right?
Yeah.
Like if a driver says yes and NASCAR says no, the fans are going to say yes.
Right.
If NASCAR says yes and the driver says no, the fans are going to say no. More likely or not, they side with the driver.
Yeah.
So if you can get like maybe like a Denny Hamlin or like a William Byron or I'm trying to think like people that are like good people that are good with sim racing.
Dale Jr.
Get him involved in it. Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
Get them involved in it. And you can have them essentially sell it for you, and you avoid that fiasco that you have with Atlanta, where there was a bunch harsh criticism going into it. And they should also do that with Texas, which I still don't know what they're doing with Texas, because IndyCar is going to race there in April.
Is it supposed to be redone?
They were supposed to change something. I don't know what they're going to change, but I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like we haven't heard anything about Texas.
I guess I don't know. Maybe we'll hear something. I don't know.
But
I don't like Texas.
No, I don't like Texas.
That's when that race comes up.
Yeah, we'll shit all over Texas. I remember it was on my birthday. Bruton Smith died. The original owner of SMI.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like that day or the next day there was Texas Motor Speedway posted a bulldozer, but they were like moving the stands. I was like, wow, this is the best birthday gift ever.
I do remember that.
But should we talk about the race?
All right, let's get into the race at Fontana now.
All right, so I've decided to take the liberty to kind of document what goes on during the race, make it a little bit easier.
It's better than what I do.
Yeah, better than what we have been doing. So stage one, not much happened. You had Ross Chastain pretty much dominate majority of stage one.
Okay.
He was making some real ballsy moves. Like he was able to put that car wherever he wanted it and pretty much make it stick.
A lot of the drivers were able to do that. I only watched the last stage, but even then they were really able to do that. So
there was one pass that that Ross made on Joey, and he just had a huge it reminded me of the older NASCAR where you had this big run coming in the front stretch, and then he just dive on them going into the corner, and there's nothing Joey could have done.
Right.
He could have thrown a block and wrecked both of them, but I mean there was no way he was going to prevent Chastain from going around them. You know.
Right.
Kyle Larson was hit with issues very early in the race. He had an electrical issue. They ended up replacing the not the carburetor, but they replaced the fuel injector. They replaced coil packs and stuff.
Wow.
That's probably stuff that they probably could have found out during practice. They didn't have practice. It sucks, you know, because he's good at Fontana.
Yeah, he is.
That's his home track. It sucks, but hey, it's early in the season. And you know
to recover
he
from
can,
that.
Yeah, he could easily. He could rebound from that next week. You know, I mean, very easily. It just sucks. You know.
Absolutely.
Truex had multiple penalties. He had, I believe, he had a speeding penalty at one point, and then he also had a loose wheel. He had a wheel come off on the track.
On the track,
which is our first loose wheel penalty of the year, and
the new penalty. So,
two crew members got suspended.
Yep, on track means suspensions.
And then there were a lot of cars that spun off too. I know, like Brad spun off. I'm trying to think who else spun off. Brad, I remember Brad spinning off. I can't remember who else spun off. I should have wrote it down. But I mean, it was a pretty racy race, and you know, like even with Truex with those issues, you know, he was still able to race his way through the field, which is something that you haven't really seen lately, you know.
Right.
And then he had Ross Chastain winning stage 1, going into the stage 2. There, I don't know if you saw it, but did you see that restart where everyone just got
the big bottleneck?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, this is another L for Fox. This is literally right in front. All the cars are in one spot. How do you have 1 or 2 cameras on it and not catch what happened? Because there's no clean view of what happened. Because, like, there's the camera that's facing at the front of the field, and I think, like, the last car in the shot is Chase Elliott, and it happened right behind him. Like, because, like, I remember they right when it happened, they have the radios, and someone's like, "Oh, that was the 42." No, that was Joey. I mean,
yeah. I was watching, you know, well, I wasn't watching, but I was seeing that they were, reviewing it on TV later, and it was Joey. What, he just waited? He held up and
he throttled up, but he didn't go.
Okay.
To, you know,
yeah,
to give the illusion he was going.
Right.
He throttled up like he was going to go, and then he didn't go, and then he won. And then, I forgot who was right behind them, but I know, like, Noah was behind them, Chase was behind them, I think Ross may have been behind them. And then they just, you know, they all stopped, and then, like, as it got further back, you know, that reaction time was a lot less, and then just, you know, wrecked.
Chaos.
Which took out Tyler Reddick, took out Eric Almirola. I bet you he's wishing he probably stayed retired. 2 races in, 2 DNFs.
Who?
Almirola.
Was he supposed to be retired? I thought this was
he was supposed to retire, and then Smithfield was like, "No, you're still gonna race."
Okay.
Because I think Smithfield was like, "Yeah, we're gonna we're either gonna sponsor Eric or sponsor no one."
Wow.
But you know, they have that he has that partnership with Smithfield, just like you know, it seems like now that Bowman has that partnership with Ally, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, you know, they got to do a lot better job of getting cameras on the cars. And I noticed this week they didn't have. I saw it in the Xfinity race, but they didn't have it in the Cup Series. They got rid of the helmet cams that they had at the 500. They had them in the Xfinity race, but then they had like an over-the-shoulder view.
Okay. I saw people were like, I saw some articles or posts or whatever that, not saying that they didn't have the helmet cams, but none of the dashes were blurred.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a lot further away. I mean, but it was like the right shoulder of the driver. Like if you were the passenger in the car, that's what the view was.
Okay.
So it was further away.
So you really still couldn't really read it, so they didn't have to blur it. Okay.
But but like, I would say I watched like 95% of the race. Like I was doing laundry and stuff during it, so like there might have been times I missed it, but like they didn't mention the cameras at all. Like they never existed. Meanwhile, at Daytona, they were raving about these cameras and how, like, this technology... They didn't even mention it once.
Okay.
Which I just thought was weird.
Well, they talked about it, so then that's it.
Well, yeah, but then now they didn't even show it. It wasn't like, oh, hey, like we're not doing this week or whatever to begin. Like they just nothing. Unless I missed it. I mean, it could have been that 5% window that I missed it, but and then I have my answer now because I put in here where's all that debris coming from, which was all that sand and stuff.
So
it's the track that's breaking down.
Yeah, so,
because they had the jet dryers on the track. It's hot air forced into the track, and it kind of just the track's falling apart. So it's all those like the loose marbles just come everywhere.
Just rocks.
Those marbles took out Bubba. It blocked up the radiator and he overheated.
Oh, that's his problem?
Yeah.
Was the track?
And then there were other cars where you could see the splitter, like the leading edge.
I think Chris Buescher posted his was all chopped up.
And even with Bubba, his splitter split in two.
Jeez.
So like it was like it literally came apart.
It ripped apart.
Yeah, which I mean, they're always talking about dirty air and clean air. I don't think anyone had clean air.
No.
on Sunday.
No, and it's another reason why, clearly why they're, the track needed work.
They have to do something. They have to do something to the track.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the short track, but I mean, I feel like no matter what they do, it's going to be the wrong call. You know what I mean?
See, it's funny though, because I asked you before, because I only saw some replays, like, because I was kind of busy at the start of the race, and so like, it was like on my phone, I would see replays of like something that happened, or I would check in on the live, the streaming, and I'm like, and they look like all the cars looked like they went through speedy dry, and they were just dirty. I was like, why are the cars so dirty?
And like, I don't know, if it looked like the cars literally got sandblasted.
Yeah.
Because like they were showing like the top of the windshields, and you could see the layers of the plexiglass or whatever they use for the windshield.
Yeah.
You could see like the layers of it, like terrible.
Wow.
And like Denny was saying, like after 10 laps, he had a hard time seeing through the windshield because it was just.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so rough. All right.
And then you had Ross Chastain again winning stage 2.
Super dominant in that first half.
And then you had, I mean, he was still dominant in this third stage too, but Kyle was creeping his way up. Kyle had a speeding penalty.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Late, kind of in the middle or later in the race.
And he was able to come back and race his way back up to the front.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to. If you have a good car, you should be able to race your way up to the front. It came down to pit strategy in the end, and Kyle Busch had the better pit stop over Ross Chastain.
Yeah, I think
I don't remember who came in first. I think they came in. They came in Ross and Kyle came out first, and then from then he had the quote unquote clean air, and Ross couldn't catch him.
I think I kept seeing like Ross was doing like 2 tires or no tires or this or that, and still losing spots.
Yeah,
like his crew was just not on it. It seemed like.
Yeah.
So he had a good car and he was driving good, but clearly, the race is won or lost on pit road.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that proves it right there with him.
I will say though, I mean, Kyle Busch does come away with the win. This is definitely the first time that I can remember ever like, not like cheering for him to win, but like
not being upset that he won.
I'm happy he won. Yeah. Like I was like take that, coach. Like
Yeah.
Again, we don't know the specifics of how things ended, but I definitely think him going to a new team was needed for him to get that rowdiness back in him.
Fire.
Yeah. But we've been to a couple of races. We've seen Kyle Busch win before. Mm-hmm. I mean, even in driver intros, the only driver that gets more booed than Kyle Busch is probably Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
There were some boos on the TV, but he was cheered.
He was.
Like there was a lot of cheering for him after that win.
Yeah, the boos were not. They were there, but not as noticeable. And
like
even
if you weren't paying attention to the broadcast, all you would have heard was cheers.
Right.
Like, if it was just background noise, you wouldn't even notice the boos.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot more cheers.
I had to listen for them.
And yes, and a lot of people even commenting were like, you know what? Oh, I wasn't a Kyle Busch fan, but you know what? Good for him. Got that Chevy a win and stuck it to Coach Gibbs.
Yeah.
So.
And you even have Austin Dillon finishing 9th.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a good race for RCR and Trackhouse.
Yeah. Both they had two. Was Suarez and
Who else is in?
So, yeah, you had well, I would say they both finished in the top 4.
Yes.
Yeah, and you had them finishing 3 and 4,
which is big.
Yeah. Bowman had a good day.
Chase quietly came in second.
Yeah, he did. I mean, if that race was a little bit longer, I was curious to see what he could do. But I mean, nothing but praise for Kyle Busch. You know.
Yeah, of course.
I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays his attitude. Like, I want to know the character that he is going forward. You know what I mean?
I'm sure he will be the same. Excuse me. Because we saw,
he was the guy that everyone hated, and he would play into that.
I mean,
but
after
he's
Daytona,
not that guy anymore.
He is.
Is he the guy that everyone hates? Not in Fontana.
We'll see. Whenever, because everybody's complaint always was, even when he won, he was always happy. But whenever he lost, and we did see in Daytona, he got wrecked and he was Mr. Poopy Pants.
But he wasn't really that. I mean, he's passionate about racing,
and he always has been.
Yeah,
but people just like to complain about it.
Why wouldn't you want a guy that's passionate about racing?
Because they just want a guy that talks like this and it's just like, the team did really good and
just hate it for my guys.
Just hate it for my guys. and then when he wins, the guys did really good. Sponsors gave us all the money. Love it for my guys.
But I mean, Kyle Busch has personality. Everyone cries that no one has personality, and then a guy comes in with personality and everyone fucking hates him.
Yeah.
But I mean, now it's different. Now he's in a Chevy.
Now
he's racing for.
Now
RCR.
He ain't in that damn Yoder.
Also, you know what I noticed about the B? I mean, the 8. It kind of looks like a B.
Sure. Say so.
Like a backwards B.
Maybe on the other side of the car.
The other side, it looks like a B. But I think that Kyle Busch going to. Okay, here's another. How long do you think Austin Dillon gets used to being number 2? RCRs have had 4 wins in the last 2 seasons. And they've all been from that 8 car.
Well, he's Austin Dillon has never been the number 1.
No. But do you think that? I mean, because he pulled for Kyle to come to RCR. He told he told Granddaddy like, hey,
he knows he's the young guy. Like Kyle's the guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows like this is Kyle's show.
Because like at Daytona, he said that he was more upset the fact that he couldn't push Kyle to the win than he was not winning at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In his post-race interview. How long does that last?
I would say he would keep going. I'm sure they'll build some sort of friendship as teammates, and I'm sure he knows that he has a lot to learn from Kyle now that he's actually works with him and not just like drivers on on pit road being like, hey, how's it going? How's the car for you? Like they will work together at the shop and at the track a lot more, and he probably knows he's gonna have a lot to learn from Kyle.
Do you think that this is gonna elevate Austin Dillon's career?
Could.
I mean, I'm not gonna say he's gonna turn to Hall of Fame or whatever, but do you think like he could be a guy that actually wins races and not lucks his way into races? I mean, he won the 500. He won that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that race at Texas, he won that fair and square. Like he had a good car all day, and he was just there. And at Daytona, he was at the right spot at the right time, but he put himself in that position to win. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't just luck. When he won at the second race at Daytona, I would say that's much more luck because I mean, it's skill and luck, but I'd say it's more luck than skill. And then when he won at the 600, that was a fuel mileage race.
Yeah, they just played it right.
Yeah.
Well, like you said before, RCR got 2 top 10s. He finished in the top 10. He was there. Mm-hmm. Maybe, as we see them work together more, he will get better finishes because usually he's not always at the top.
Because it really shocked me to see Kyle go to RCR because I thought they would have just. I thought with the original plan was to have Reddick finish out this year,
Yeah.
and then Reddick goes to 2311.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine that Austin Hill
Right.
would get that ride.
Right. Kyle really just didn't have a spot.
No. I mean, I think he definitely found a home. But I think going forward, do you think Austin Hill gets Austin Dillon's ride? Or do they go back to a 3-car team?
They could do a 3-car team. I don't see that being out
Because
of the
I
realm.
would imagine, I mean, they'd have to get the other charter. I don't know who they would get it from. But
Cody,
Rick Ware.
Rick Ware Racing. Get Cody Ware off the track.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Austin Hill's going to be a guy that's going to have to find the ride. Or are they going to lose him to Ford? Because, I mean, look at Ford right now.
Ford has nobody.
No, they have Joey and Blaney. Mm-hmm. You got Harvick that's retiring. You have Chase Briscoe, but, I mean... Or, aside from Ford, look at Stewart Haas. They have 2 seats that they're going to have to fill.
Yep.
They have to fill Harvick's seat, and they have to fill Amarola's seat when that time comes.
And we really haven't heard of anybody coming up in the Ford.
You have Zane Smith. He's racing for the front row truck team.
Okay.
He's
But otherwise...
defending Truck Series champion. But other than him, no. All you hear about from the Ford camp is Haley Deegan.
Yeah, and Haley it's not really perform. It doesn't.
I want to see. I want to see her in a season of Xfinity before I out her or you know.
The cars and the trucks do handle very different. Yeah. So.
Because like I wouldn't. I've always been one to say that I don't feel like the trucks is a good way to gauge your talent. Because anyone that's really worth of anything in the sport doesn't really mess with, aside from Kyle Busch, doesn't really mess with the trucks. You know what I mean? I mean, Kyle Busch. I mean, Austin Dillon is the only driver right now with a truck championship and an Xfinity championship, just waiting on that Cup one.
Yeah.
And he would be the first driver to do all 3 if he were ever to win a Cup Series championship. Which I think with Kyle Busch's plan, is to once he retires full time from Cup, just go ham in the Truck Series, get that trophy, and call it a day.
Probably.
Yeah. But Ford has a lot of cars and not enough drivers. So like, I think that Chevy is going to be having that problem soon, because like Toyota's finally fixing that.
Toyota had a lot of drivers.
Yeah, Toyota had a lot of drivers
and no seats in the Cup Series.
No seats, and now I think Chevy's kind of turning into that a little bit.
A lot of drivers.
They have seats. Like you have Josh Berry, you have Sam Mayer. I mean, Sam Mayer's not ready to move up yet. Josh Berry's not ready to move up yet.
I think Josh Berry might just because I don't. He's not. I'm not that he's old, but he's not one of the younger drivers, right? He had a bit of a career in like late model or whatever.
Well, in late models, yeah. I mean, he started on iRacing and he would race against Dale Jr. Then they became friends through iRacing, and then he started racing for Dale Jr. In the late models. But this is only his 2nd season, I want to say.
Okay.
In the Xfinity series. I have this feeling, and I can't put any facts out there. This is just my feeling. I have a feeling that eventually that JTG Daughtery charter is going to end up with JRM. Because I think there were talks about, selling it earlier. They won the 500 now. I mean, they're never going to win a championship.
No, not at all.
I mean, do you kind of say, hey, we got what we wanted and sell it? Because during the pre-race, what I thought was weird was that Brad Daughtery was not at the race.
Well, I think I heard he wasn't feeling well. Someone said he wasn't.
He wasn't?
No.
And then, okay, I mean, if that's the case, to me, that's a red flag. I mean, this is your biggest race of the year, and this is like the team's best shot.
But he also, he's very involved in NASCAR.
He is. I was just surprised that he wasn't there.
I think it was he wasn't feeling 100%, so he wasn't able to be there.
And then Clint Boyer and Ricky Stenhouse had a little interview thing and I don't know when it was recorded, but Clint. I mean, again, this could be fake, but if it's fake, why would you want this to be true?
Yeah.
He asked. Clint asked Ricky, has he spoken to Brad yet? And he goes, no, I haven't. So then they call him right up in there, and then he gives him the congratulations and stuff. If that's not true, why would you want to give that perception that he's not, like, to me, that's like, oh, he's not invested into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you haven't talked to the guy that won your team's biggest race.
Yeah.
Like, that should have been, like, one of the first. And if that is true, it's a little alarming. You know what I mean?
It is, for sure.
And I feel like if Junior were to go up into Cup Series, there's two drivers. Truex or Josh Berry.
Truex.
Junior. He'd probably retire, like, race a year and retire.
With
JRM. You know, end where he and finish where he started.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. If he's, done with Joe Gibbs Racing. But yeah, I mean, there are some good drivers still with JRM in Xfinity.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think Allgaier is going anywhere. He's gonna probably like Elliott and Elliott Sadler and retire.
Yeah.
From Xfinity, because like the Xfinity series needs those guys.
The regulars.
They need that. You need those regulars in there, so the up and comers have a benchmark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I feel like in the truck series, you don't have too many regulars, and it's just a bunch of kids.
There's a couple.
There are.
Not as much as there were.
Like you have Stuart Friesen, I think Matt Crackton's still racing, maybe Johnny Slaughter.
Yeah.
It's a small handful, you know what I mean? You don't really have like, oh wow, like this guy, like he's a good guy. If you could beat that guy, you might have a shot in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
That's why also I like having the Cup regulars come down into the Xfinity Series.
I mean, it's always been like that, but...
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, I didn't like when, like, it was oversaturated, where, like, Kyle was racing every weekend. Because then, like, I can't think, like, back then of, like, wow, this guy's pretty good, because you never know, because he's going to finish second to Kyle, or third to Kyle, like,
There was a moment, in the late 2000s where it was like these same drivers in the Cup and Xfinity. Biffle, Edwards,
Mark Martin,
Busch. Yeah, they were
Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick. They ran all the time.
All the time, and it was any replays that you see of it, the Xfinity. At the time, I think it was Nationwide at that time, whatever, or Busch, whatever you want to call it. It was those guys. And so, like, you can't, but they were already racing Cup at that time. Like, you don't really start talking about Xfinity names until, not too long ago.
Yeah.
So.
Like, you wouldn't have your Noah Gregsons, you wouldn't have your Ty Gibbs, you wouldn't have your Josh Berry or Justin Allgaier. Like, you wouldn't have those names if you kept having these guys race every week in the series.
But you do need them.
You do need, yes.
Once in a while to... test these guys coming up.
Because I remember when Chase Briscoe beat Kyle Busch at Darlington I think it was the first race back in 2020. Chase Briscoe's wife just lost their kid, like, in birth.
Okay.
And they had a miscarriage and that, a whole, like, emotional thing and this and that. But, like, do you think that win would have meant more if he just beat Noah, or do you think it meant a lot more because he beat Kyle Busch?
Kyle Busch for sure.
He outraced Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
like that's a huge ego boost. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean,
race. Beat your equal.
Yeah.
Or beat
your superior.
Your superior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the guys in the Cup Series should be the best guys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could beat those guys, okay, then maybe you are ready for Cup. You know what I mean? So, like, you definitely need those drivers that come down and race there. You definitely need that. But I also like how now, like, they don't race in the playoffs.
They don't at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't race in the playoffs, and they don't race in the Dash or Cash.
Okay.
When you can get the
extra money, yeah.
They don't race in those races, which I'm fine with.
Fine.
But kind of went off on a tangent here. An unscripted tangent.
We're still not even done talking about Fontana.
No, we're not. So, Kyle Busch wins, like I had already said, the cheers. So with this win this year, that is his 19th consecutive season with a win.
That's the most.
That's now the record.
A record.
And it's going to be a long time before anyone catches that.
He sets 2 records with this win. That 19 consecutive seasons. And now the Busch brothers are the most winningest brothers in NASCAR.
Yes.
With
95 wins.
95 wins. So with one race, he set 2 records.
Yeah.
Which is just shows the kind of guy that kind of driver that he is.
It's crazy to think that 61 of those wins are Kyle.
Yeah.
But Kurt's the guy with the Daytona 100 win, though. You know, like
I know Kyle will get it at some point, but he'll get it. But a lot of talent there.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But yeah, that kind of wraps up Fontana.
Yes.
I guess we can move into Darth comment of the week. So we don't. Excuse me. We don't exactly have a exact comment this week.
We were looking, but
we were looking.
Nobody was complaining.
No one was stupid enough.
Yeah.
There wasn't one comment that stuck out above the rest. I mean, I guess we'll use this as the comment. So NASCAR just announced that they made the rule changes, like we spoke about earlier in this episode. And here, you want to pull it up?
Which one?
The one about
Okay.
The one that's in shitposting. So this guy.
Tighten those screws.
Well, there was that one.
That was about.
That was about
Martin Truex's penalty.
Yeah.
There's just a random person that was like, tighten those screws, like, Miss Ma'am. It's a lug nut.
Yes, there are no screws on a tire. If you have screws in your tire, that's a problem.
This one?
So this guy goes in response to NASCAR changing the rules at short tracks. Oh, great. Anyone...
whoops.
Oh, great. Anyone else notice all the rules coming to all sports? What's going on here? Looks like we're seeing the woke ideology devouring sports these days. MLB is already destroying their league. Politics is driving all the changes. So I really want... So, like... I don't disagree that, to an extent, there is some woke factor going on in entertainment these days. But how in the hell does woke have anything to do with changing the racing package? Because everyone complained that this racing sucked at short tracks. Everyone complains that the racing sucked last year, and I will agree. Oh my God, I'm going on a rant right now. The short track package sucked last year. Mm-hmm. Everyone can fucking agree with that. But NASCAR comes out with a rule to fix that, and everyone's crying that they're making rule changes. Well, what do you want them to do?
They just want to cry.
You tell NASCAR, change this. Okay, we change it. Why are you making all these changes?
Yeah, no, for sure.
There was a lot of comments similar to that one, minus the wokeness, about how, all these changes. Over 2 races in, we're already making changes. We haven't raced at a short track yet.
No.
If they already went to Phoenix and then they make the change, okay,
what about
fine. I can kind of see that.
There was one about the Garage 56.
Yes. So I will say, in the article, it did mention something about how this new package was derived from the Garage 56 entry. However, that doesn't make sense to me because there's more downforce on that car.
Hell a lot more.
Way more horsepower.
Yeah. And then they're talking about taking away the downforce for the road courses. Yeah. I don't know how they came across that. I know they were always saying they were going to pull from it.
Yeah.
But this change, it doesn't sound like it's coming from that.
No.
So I don't know if it's a future, but it's definitely not coming from the Garage 56, where even though it's Chevy, all the makes are there, so nobody's gonna gain from that. But
well, no, it's just Chevy Hendrick Motorsports.
No, but what the tests, Ford and Toyota are also there.
that information's there. But, I mean, that's what they're willing to share. I mean, I don't think Hendrick Motorsports is going to give up all their eggs, you know. But, like, I don't get this.
It's just.
And then, like, there's stupid people commenting, oh, Bubbles rule.
What
What does
rule?
this have to do with
How is this going to help him? This is all the drivers get this.
Exactly.
People just want to complain because.
If you say that you want to stop watching NASCAR, please do me a favor and stop watching it. Please.
Not just stop watch it. Just
stop talking about it.
Shut the hell up. The thing is, it's probably not picking that up.
It's probably not, and now they just heard. Psh, I'm like, what the fuck was that for? But
yeah. So there's definitely a lot of complaints. Nothing that's super over the top, like fucking.
Someone else also commented, "Oh, just give teams $85,000 to go to a showroom and buy a car." Okay, you still have to fucking put a roll cage in it. You still have to put a fuel cell in it. You still have to put seats in it.
I guess we just want to see people die.
Yeah, like. Do you see what Corvettes do when they meet a wall? Do you see what happens? They don't make it out.
No.
But I mean, I guess that would fix Toyota's problem.
What's Toyota's problem?
Too many drivers on the seats.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. So that's...
anyway.
No specific comment other than the one we read and ranting about that. You know, just ranting about you guys complaining. But
yes, we're complaining about you complaining.
Yeah.
So ironic, whatever you want to call it.
So, if you do listen to us, tweet us at Funts Podcast, hashtag ACRP. Armchair Racers Podcast.
Give
us some comments for next week.
Yes, give us something to talk about. You can ask us questions, whatever you want. I mean, hey, if you're the only one that does it, if you're the only one that does it and it's legible, we'll read it. So next week we have Vegas, the second race of the West Coast Swing. You think Kyle is gonna go with this momentum?
Absolutely. He has. He's good at this track.
He is.
Both Busch brothers have been good at this track. It's their home track. Continuing he had good momentum at Daytona. He got in a wreck, but he was good at Daytona. He won at California. I think he's still going to do really good and run really strong at Vegas. I think I'm going to be taking him for the funds.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the rule change I made?
Yeah, and I told you. Excuse me.
Yeah, he said tug her balls. I mean, give her balls a tug, you tit fucker.
Yeah.
I
forget.
Am
I taking? No, I'm gonna take Logano.
Yes, that's right. You said you're gonna take Logano.
So he's got a couple more wins recently at Vegas. I looked it up.
So with him picking Logano, he's probably gonna win.
Yeah.
Like that's what's gonna happen.
So I don't think we've talked about it yet on here, have we?
We may. I think no. We did. We did.
Okay.
In the Get to Know Us episode.
Oh yes. Okay.
When we talked about the
my curse.
Your curse and how you curse everyone that you pick. I mean, you cursed Truex, but he was able to power through it.
He finished 11th. Back.
So I mean,
no, it was a 10th.
Was it top 10?
I believe he finished 10th. Oh, I guess 11th. Oh, yeah. Whatever. I think when I looked, he was in 10th.
Where did Stenhouse finish 12th? That's not terrible. Let's see. A little quiet right now. But yeah, AJ got
Well, yeah, there's a couple on the crash.
I think Kyle Larson's gonna turn around here at Vegas.
Wake up.
I don't know if he's gonna win.
He's strong. He's strong here.
He's good at Vegas. I'm definitely feeling a top 5 out of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna qualify well, and I think I don't think you're gonna see this issue repeat. I think it was just a mistake that happened on the car.
I mean, it didn't happen. Yeah, it didn't happen to any other Hendrick cars. It must have just been something faulty. Maybe from the weather that they had, something just wasn't right.
It's possible.
It's definitely not a engine thing or just regular. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be a regular thing.
No.
So
I mean, and he had speed at Daytona.
Yeah,
he did. I mean, he was there at the end, and he got caught up in the wreck.
Yeah.
I still have a positive outlook for Larson this season.
Oh, of course.
I mean, way too early to be it's gonna be a championship year. I can't even say that. I mean,
I'm saying it's a championship year for Busch.
Kyle Busch definitely going to be in the championship 4 without a doubt. I would lock him in now.
See, last year we weren't saying that.
No,
but this year I'm gonna say,
motivated.
Oh yeah,
he's motivated and he's pissed off.
Yeah,
you don't want that. If you're a driver, you don't want that.
No.
You know?
So yeah, Larson's gonna do good this year. I think he'll, like you said, I'm sure he'll do good this race.
Yeah.
Busch, I'm sure I will, without a doubt, will probably do really good this race. My fun's pick is Logano. Who's your fun's pick?
I'm going Blaney.
Blaney?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll probably have a good race.
Yeah. I mean, he's been there, just hasn't capitalized on it.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, the way I look at it, it's a long season. You don't need to win.
No.
You just keep if you get average a top 10 finish, that'll help you. You know.
Of course.
Because you're gonna have those weeks where you pick a guy and he just shits the bed and nothing you can do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's gonna? What kind of race do you think we're gonna get at Vegas?
I think we're gonna get a very racy.
How was it last year?
I don't remember. I don't remember being bad. But
Oh.
I know that on this mile and a half package the cars were decent. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting a decent race.
Okay. Probably gonna. I don't remember anything as well.
I think Larson or Bowman won at Vegas last year.
I thought
Because I remember they had the hack shirts and had the casino chips in it.
Which means he probably backed his way into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyle. I think Kyle called out. That's right. Kyle called out Bowman about it, and then Bowman made the shirts and had them on sale for $18. And then I think Busch came out with a shirt that everything went to some kind of charity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that finished. But obviously that's the finish. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think again it was early in the year last year. I mean, they went to Vegas twice.
There's a playoff. I think there's a playoff.
Oh, fucking Logano won it last year. Oh, I remember the second race at Vegas last year.
What was the second race at Vegas?
When Bubba decided to, Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson.
You should be arrested for human manslaughter.
Kyle Larson, took away some of his room and then he retaliated.
But you know who was the smartest one in that whole thing? Kevin Harvick. He saw Kyle. He's like, all right, bye-bye. Go do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And Bubba was like, oh, I took that personally. And then, he decided to do what he did. I mean, again, it's in the moment, but still, that still doesn't sit well with me. I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need that in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I'm over it. It is what it is. Kyle's over it. I could be over it. You know what I mean? I mean, I think the only opinion that matters on that is Kyle's. And if they could still be friends, then so be it. You know what I mean?
I mean, nothing else happened after it.
No. I mean, hopefully he learned.
Yeah.
And he's not going to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because, okay, fine. You have a right to be pissed off. But, don't,
Yeah.
and then try to start fighting him.
For sure.
That was... It just looked bad.
For sure, yeah. No, to take him out and then start fighting, I would start a fight if I got taken out.
Yeah.
Or, take him out and then that's it.
Yeah, because, he could see that, Larson wanted nothing to do with him. He was just what are you doing?
For sure. It was definitely heated, but, it's passed.
It's passed.
They've raced each other since then. I do remember that was Vegas. That's a playoff race.
Yeah, and that's when Logano won. And I remember looking, because I think that was the first race to the round of 8, and I'm like, I was looking at the points, and I'm like, fuck, if Logano got to win, he's going to win the championship. And he fucking did.
You must have bought Pennzoil or Shell fuel or something.
Probably. I probably did.
So, otherwise, I mean, Vegas is always good racing. Nothing spectacular ever really happens, I would say.
No.
I think it'll be a good race, though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cars are a little different this year than they were last year, but, we'll see.
Cool beanies.
Yeah. So with that said, this is us wrapping up episode number 4 of the Armchairs Racers podcast. I am your host, Tommy Joe, alongside co-host here,
Alex Rackless.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Tweet us.
Yes. Tweet us at Funts Podcast on Twitter. Well, we can't tweet us anywhere else. And hashtag ACRP.
If you like this video, give us a like. Hit that, smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Smash the subscribe button.